Hello, I'm Elizabeth Noski, a mother of 3, grandmother of 4, and have worked in education for over 50 years. If you are one of the many parents who suddenly find themselves in lockdown with the family, working from home or homeschooling your children, you may already be feeling frazzled and frustrated. The 3 keys to thriving, not just surviving this period of family isolation, are having great two-way communication, a spirit of cooperation, and a calm and peaceful family. Although your children are literally under your feet right now, it can actually be harder to connect with them than it is when they are under someone else's feet for much of the day. I get that. I had 3 children in 3.5 years and clearly recall waking up each day with a feeling of dread, wondering how on earth I was going to get through yet another day home alone with them. I know that what you really want to know right now is how you can stop the fights and what you should do when the stroppy one upends the Monopoly board because they started to lose. But trust me, nothing you try is going to work until you have the relationship sorted first. The 3 keys to thriving, not just surviving this time of family isolation with your children, are to communicate, cooperate, and stay calm. Communication is a two-way process. I've done more than my own fair share of shouting as a young mum. I knew I was just surviving from one day to the next, but I didn't know what else to do. Perhaps you will find some of these ideas helpful. Firstly, know their communication style. Some children are more chatty in the mornings than they are in the evenings. Some like to talk fast, while others enjoy a slower pace. Others love to ask questions or talk about cars, space, or animals. Some kids have a great sense of humour and enjoy banter and gentle teasing, while others are easily offended by it. Have a talking time and place. This might be at the meal table, on the couch, or tucked up in bed. Make this part of your family ritual each day from now on. Kids love the details, so go ahead and ask them. Use statements like, "What happened next? What did you do then? How did that make you feel? What else did you notice?" By accepting the superficial and the trivial, you will often find them willing to go much deeper into what they really think and feel. Teach emotional literacy. To teach emotional literacy, first you must understand your own emotions and express them appropriately for the situation. Then, and only then, can you start teaching these important skills to your children. Teach, but don't preach. Even young children dislike a parental sermon. But this doesn't mean they don't value your opinions, your advice, or your wisdom. Just keep it short, age appropriate, and be guided by their responses. Cooperation. It doesn't just happen. You need to teach them. You need to ignore provocation. This doesn't mean you lose, just that they don't win. The goal of provoking is to drag you down into your downstairs brain so that you react with a negative response. So don't play that game. Ignore it. Retreat if you have to, but address it at a later time, but when the time is right for you. Have clear rules. Kids are tenacious researchers and will doggedly collect data about what is and is not okay in this family. Is it okay to fight with each other? Do we shout, hit, or shame each other? If there are rules and they are not followed, what happens next? Good rules don't happen by accident. They are planned, discussed, and clearly understood by all. We have specific neural pathways in our brain for motivation and reward. You'll have more success if you work with rather than against their brain. Say it once. Don't train your child to wait for the 3rd time you give an instruction. Once you've said it, check for understanding, perhaps by having them repeat your instruction. And above all, don't engage in a debate or a power struggle. But do ask questions. If you've asked them once and they're not responding, try a different approach. Pretend to be forgetful and invite them to remind you what it is that you have just said. Ask them if you need to repeat it before you come right out and say it again. Give limited choices, but make sure they really are acceptable choices. Even if the what you want them to do is not an option, maybe the when or where are. For example, would you like to pack up your game before or after lunch? Our brain is wired for fairness, so make sure choices really are fair to both you and your child. Use and teach I statements. Kids, and often parents too, love to play the blame game. It's easy for us as parents to fall into the trap of overusing you statements. Things we all say, such as you always or you never, roll easily off our tongues if we are not vigilant. An I statement might go something like this. I feel really annoyed when you keep asking when lunch will be ready, and I want you to look at the schedule on the fridge. You just have to remember the sequence. I feel, when you, and I want. Give it a try. It's much less antagonistic than an accusation that starts with the word you. Laugh for absolutely no reason. Apart from reading amusing stories and poems or watching funny movies, take a few minutes to laugh together for absolutely no reason. You might be surprised how easy it is once you get over the first awkward minute or two. Check out some of the ideas on YouTube. Stop the escalation. Kids love to power struggle. They enjoy the debate, the verbal haranguing, and like to suck you or their siblings into the fray. Getting their own way is just an added bonus. The best way to stop a power struggle is not to get into one in the first place, or make a hasty exit if they did manage to draw you in. Stick with your no. If you are saying no up to 35 times a day, then you're saying it way too much. So just stop. If you plan ahead and have written a written schedule for the day, you can preempt many of their requests and questions. Responding with, "Let me think about that," is a much better response than a vague, "we'll see." But having said no, unless you realise you should have said yes, then stick with your no and don't budge. Otherwise, you aren't training your child to pester you into submission. Spend more time together. Well, you have to really, don't you? If you're not comfortable just hanging out with your child, choose a great story to read together, a game of cards to play, or a family board game. There are many fabulous resources that are both cheap and readily available, or you can dig them out of the back of your own back cupboard. Calm. I wish I knew then what I know now. I'd never heard of mindfulness, and I certainly wasn't a calm mum. Quite the opposite. In fact, I've done a lot of research over the past years, and I'm convinced that mindfulness is the best way to develop a sense of peace and calm in our busy brain and even busier lives. Now that things may have slowed down for you for a short time, plan to set aside at least 10 minutes, preferably twice a day, morning and night is good, to try some of the following ideas. Listen to the sound. Use a singing bowl, a set of chimes, or even a phone app sound that lasts around 30 seconds. Focusing on a sound helps to calm our emotional downstairs brain. Breathe with a buddy. Controlled breathing is a great way to settle down our agitated sympathetic nervous system. My Year 1 class loved this YouTube butterfly body scan. Take mindful walks. Stroll through the backyard, garden, or the park on a noticing walk. Soak in the sounds, sights, smells, and textures that surround you. This will flood their brain with soothing sensory experiences. Establish a gratitude practice. Make it a ritual during meal times or part of their bedtime routine. Focus on the less material abundance in their lives, their friends, grandparents, pets, home, people who love them. If you don't have your own gratitude practice established, now is a great time to get started. A personal weather report. Encourage your child to use the weather report that best describes their feelings at the moment, such as sunny, stormy, cloudy, windy, or rainy. This one-step removed process helps children to identify emotions and feelings without necessarily having to name them. Make a mind jar. Put large glitter flakes or other suitable material into a screw-top jar filled with water. It works a bit like a snow globe. Shake it vigorously to create a tumultuous storm of swirling colour. Then sit quietly, breathe, and watch the disturbance settle down again. Remind children that our minds do this too, and that even very agitated emotions will settle back down before too long. Stopping fights. Fights are going to happen. They probably have already. Remember that you are the coach and, if necessary, the referee. Do not take to the field as well. Be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. Here's a quick 4-step process you could try. Firstly, let them acknowledge their bad feelings, exactly what they are feeling, when and why. Encourage them to use their words, not just their fists. Direct them to tell their sibling how they're feeling first, and not just come straight to you. Have them acknowledge their wish, even if it's not a very friendly one. You could say, "I know you are angry and you wish you would just stop it." Or, if you're being really honest, "I know you wish you would just disappear for a while." They're probably thinking it anyway, and it will be a relief for them to hear you come right out and say it. This might even be the best time for some quirky family humour. And finally, give them an age-appropriate creative outlet. They could draw a picture, pummel a pillow, smash the Play-Doh, or do whatever works. You will probably still have to help them solve the original problem, but you can't do that until the fighting stops and they move into their upstairs brain. If you're working from home, it doesn't have to come to this, but it might if you don't plan ahead. Don't expect that you'll be able to keep to your previous office hours. That's highly unlikely. Depending on your child's nocturnal habits, it may work better for you to work early in the mornings or later in the evenings. I know this might be a big change for you too, but trust me, life will be much calmer and more productive if you make the necessary changes right from the beginning. It might also be helpful to plan a 12-hour day, with 8 of them dedicated to your own work and 4 others interspersed at various times during the day to interact with your child. Young children would benefit from having a visual timetable to refer to, or a clock face they can watch, or even a timer that counts down to the next time you will be available. If they know a break is coming soon with mum or dad, they are more likely to be patient and stop pestering you endlessly. Give it a try and see if it works for you and your family. I hope you have found this short presentation useful and have a few more ideas as how you can survive as a parent during this time of self-isolation and thrive. I am building a set of resources on my webpage, www.mindfulparent.com, which you will find useful at this time and in the months that follow. You'll find some free online resource suggestions to accompany this presentation, information about my brain-friendly 8-module parenting course, and my book, Mindful Parent, Smart Parenting the Brain-Friendly Way. I'll be adding other checklists, articles, webinars, and blogs. Please contact me through hello@mindfulparent.com if I can be of any further help. I'll also be making regular posts on my Facebook page, Mindful Parenting. If you have an issue, a challenge, or a concern you would like me to talk about, just drop me a message. No problem is too big or too small to talk about. Alternately, if you have some great solutions or new strategies that have worked well for you, please share them too. We are all in this together and we are our own best resources. So goodbye for now. Stay safe and well, and keep on thriving in the coming days and weeks. And remember, mindful parents rock!